So I start here tonight in a Betty Crocker cookbook. Um, just going to go over a couple recipes in it for bread and stuff like that. And then I want to talk about the basic herbs and spices in it. And I want to correlate everything to the dietary law within the scripture. I know it's late, so I don't expect a whole lot of kerfuffle behind this, but this is going to be one of those ones that I think when people catch it later, they'll like it. Um, this book is from like 1950, whatever. I'm going to break right into it. I'm going to go first. I'm going to read off the herbs and spices. Uh, we're going to start right here. The first spice is allspice. Second spice is basil. Third spice is chili powder. Fourth spice is cinnamon. Fifth spice is clove. Sixth spice is dill seed and weed. Go to the back. Then it's ginger. Then mace. Then marjoram. Then nutmeg. Then oregano. Then sage. Then thyme. Now, all those spices that were just named are for sure, if you go to the book of the Genesis and you start back at, let's say, chapter 1, one moment. And then in Genesis chapter 1, you would go to, one moment, verse 29 of chapter 1. And it says, "And God said, Behold, I have given to you every seed-bearing, herb-sowing seed, which is upon the earth, which is upon all the earth, and every tree which has in itself the fruit of the seed that is sown. To you it shall be for food." Stop right there. Let's just go back to the very first part. I have given to you every seed bearing, herb sowing seed which is upon the earth. Now, the reason why this is so important is because if you go to Genesis chapter 2, verse 5, and verse 4, this is the book of the generation of heaven and earth when they were made, in the day which the Lord God made the heaven and the earth. And every herb of the field before it was on the earth, and all the grass of the field before it sprang up. Now stop. The reason why that's is so important is because it says right here, I have given to you every seed bearing, herb sowing seed. So what that means is that these first herbs, right, which are dirt herbs, so potatoes, onions, carrots, things like that, they don't need the grass to grow. You understand? These are two totally different sets of herbs. I'm trying to get y'all to rock with your boy on some of this. This is why they're calling the herb of the grass, right, spices, because they work. They're totally differently. They're totally different. You know, onion, a scallion, a potato, right? Uh, what else? Cucumbers, anything like that that you grow primarily in the dirt. You don't need grass to grow that. You just need dirt to grow that. And I'm trying to distinguish the two. Now, we're going to stop right there for a moment. And I'm going to get you one of these handy dandy bread recipes that I thought was really, really nice. I think everybody should know a good bread recipe. People don't know these things anymore, so they're totally lost on us. Let me check on y'all real quick. Nothing going on. Good. So here we go. So I'm gonna read the cover to you real quick, and then you'll understand. So it says about ingredients. On the following pages, you'll find white bread, wheat bread, rye, and others. Hot rolls, sweet rolls, cinnamon buns, coffee cakes. They all begin with the same basic ingredients. And if bread baking is a new art to you, it will help to understand just what these ingredients are and what each one does. Yeast is made up of thousands of tiny living plants, which, given moisture, warmth, and food, will grow and give off a gas, carbon dioxide. It is this gas that makes dough rise. Yeast is available in active, dry, and in compressed forms. One package or scant tablespoon of dry yeast is equivalent to one cake, 3/5 ounce of compressed. Our recipes call for active dry yeast. Non-dissolved and instant blend yeast can be used according to manufacturer's general directions. Blending undissolved yeast with flour or can be used in the traditional way, dissolving yeast in warm water. Our recipes follow the traditional methods. Here we go. Flour, the all-purpose flour, contains gluten, which builds the structure in bread and traps gas formed by the yeast. Special flavor flours, rye, oatmeal, don't have enough gluten themselves, so they are used in combination with all-purpose flour. Stop right there. This is another thing I've been wanting to talk about. All flour has gluten. Did you hear that? Oatmeal is a type of flour. It doesn't have enough gluten in it itself to stick together. Thank you very much. One moment. Liquids, usually water or milk. Breads made with water will have a harder crust. Those made with milk will have a softer one. Did you just hear what it just said? Breads made with water will have a harder crust. Those made with milk will have a softer one. Excuse me. Milk adds to the nutritive values of bread. Sugar provides food for yeast, helping it grow. It adds flavor and helps the crust brown. So sugar is one of those things that helps the crust brown because it crystallizes as it cooks. Fat makes bread tender and soft. They too add flavor. So they add some type of fats to the breads or whatever they're adding to it to make it soft. Eggs, used in some recipes, tenderize and add richness to the bread. They are important for color, food value, and flavor. Tips for yeast bread. One second. When making rolls, no. We're not going to read all that. I'm going to read you an actual recipe now for bread. And then I'll go back and read one for some muffins. So, one moment. And I just want to just keep all this stuff in mind. That it already told you that it wants you to use yeast. You get what I'm saying? So that's telling you where it's at. Let me see. Okay, here's one for us. Steamed brown bread. A moist brown bread usually served with baked beans. Whatever you serve it with, serve it hot and with plenty of butter. 1 cup of gold medal flour or medium rye flour. 1 cup of cornmeal. 1 cup of whole wheat flour. 2 teaspoons of soda. I'm assuming baking soda because it doesn't specify what kind of soda. So I'm gonna say baking soda. 2 cups of buttermilk. 3/4 cups of molasses. 1 cup of raisins if desired. So says grease 4 1-pound cans or 1 7-inch tube mold. Measure all ingredients into 1 large mixer. Beat for half a minute. Scraping bowl continuously. Fill cans or mold 2/3 full. Cover tightly with aluminum foil. Place rack in Dutch oven and pour boiling water into a pan. So obviously, if you don't have a Dutch oven, we're going to have to look up on how to do it the other way because I know I don't have a Dutch oven. Dutch ovens, if I understand it correctly, you can actually cook the meal and leave, and your meal won't burn. It works differently. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's a Dutch oven that works like that. However, keep the water boiling over low heat to steam bread 3 hours or until wooden pick and center comes out clean. If it is necessary to add water during steaming, lift lid and quickly add boiling water. Immediately remove from cans. If you don't have a regular steamer pan, you can improvise one quite easily using a Dutch oven or a large saucepan with the tight-fitting cover. So it's pretty much saying that you use the Dutch oven if you don't have a pan that you can flip it over, because I'm assuming that the Dutch oven works like that, right on. It works like it has its own lid, from what I'm looking at. Look up another little bread because I like regular stuff. 1 second. You know what? Let's do waffles. I like this one. We're going to do popular waffles. There's 2 different recipes for popular and richer waffles. I'll read them both, but I'll go through the popular one first. 2 eggs, 2 cups of buttermilk, 2 cups of gold medal flour, 2 teaspoons baking powder, 1 teaspoon soda, half teaspoon salt, quarter cup tea, 2 tablespoons shortening. So this one calls for you to use baking powder and baking soda. It says soda, but I once again, I don't know what kind of soda you would use. What, 7-Up or something? I don't know. Some people, I don't. So I'm assuming it's baking soda because it doesn't say what kind of soda. Once again, richer waffles are 3 eggs, 1.5 cups buttermilk, 1 3/4 cups gold medal flour, 2 teaspoons baking powder, 1 teaspoon of the soda, half a teaspoon of salt, and a half a cup of shortening, as opposed to a quarter cup plus 2 tablespoons of shortening. Here we go. Heat waffle iron, beat eggs, beat in remaining ingredients with rotary beater until smooth. Pour batter in cup or in pitcher onto the center of hot waffle iron. Bake about 5 minutes or until steaming stops. Remove waffle carefully. If using self-rising flour, omit baking powder and salt. Did you hear that? To substitute milk for buttermilk, separate eggs, beating eggs white until stiff. Separate eggs, beating egg whites until stiff. Increase baking powder to 4 teaspoons. Omit soda and fold egg whites into batter. Bam. So that's just a quick little bread one. I'm going to go back to another basic bread. 1 second. 1 second. White bread is page 67. 1 moment. There we go. One more page. All right, bam. So this is some of the stuff that has active yeast in it, right? Two packages of active dry yeast, 3/4 cups of warm water. It says 105 degrees to 115 degrees. So I think one of the cooking instruments you would want to use is a thermometer. 2 2/3 cups of warm water, 1/4 cup of sugar, 1 tablespoon of salt, 3 tablespoons of shortening, 9 to 10 cups of gold medal flour, soft butter or margarine. So here we go. Dissolve yeast into 3/4 cups of warm water. So you dissolve the yeast into the hotter water. Stir in the 2 2/3 cups water, then the sugar, then the salt, then the shortening. Add 5 cups of flour. Beat until smooth. Mix in remaining flour to make dough easy to handle. Turn dough onto lightly floured board. Knead until smooth and elastic, which is about 10 minutes. Place in greased bowl. Turn greased side up. Cover. Let rise in warm place until double, which is about an hour. Dough is ready if impression remains. So if you press on it and it stays there, it's ready to go. If it doesn't stay, you know what I mean, then it's not ready. Punch dough down, divide in half, roll each half into rectangle. I'm assuming the baking pan is like this because it says 18 by 9 inches. Roll up, beginning at short side, which is the 9-inch side. Fold ends under loaf, which is I'm pretty sure is the pan. Place seam side down and grease loaf pan, which is 9 inches by 5 inches by 3 inches, which is why you fold to the 9-inch side and not the 18-inch side. Brush loaves lightly with butter. Let rise until double about an hour. So once again, you let them rise twice, right on. So this is so you can get 2 loaves of bread out of the one serving. Heat oven to 425 degrees. Place loaves on low racks so the tops of pans are in center of oven. Pans should not touch each other on sides of oven. So that way they can't either the bed, so that way your bread doesn't bake out and stick to the side of the oven, and it doesn't stick to each other within the oven to each other by the pans. Bake to 30 to 35 minutes or until golden brown, and loaves should sound hollow when tapped. Remove from pans. Brush loaves with soft butter. Cool on wire racks. That's 2 loaves right there. Note, 3 loaf pans, which are 8.5 by 4.5 by 2.5 inches, can be used. Divide into 3 equal parts after punching it down. Man, I wish I could just. One second. Let me try to get this right. Try to show you this part in this book. So you see these pictures here, right? That's what it's pretty much saying. That's the process right there that you're looking at. There. So back to the dietary stuff. Why I won't go too far into the book, into this cookbook, is because there's a lot of things I have to cover, but I wanted to start with bread first. The reason being is because I'm going to read something to you. I know you guys are probably wondering why I was talking about bread the whole time. Here we go. We're going to go to Genesis chapter 3, if I'm not mistaken. And we're going to go to the very end of it. And I'm going to look for a particular part of it. Give me one moment. And here we are. We're in verse 18. This is after the fallout in the garden. So this is after the Most High finds out that Adam and Eve, or Ish and Isha, have disobeyed the holy commandments, which are to not eat from the tree of knowledge. So, and of good and evil. So, it says here in verse 18, and to Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened to the voice of thy wife, and eaten of the tree concerning which I charge thee of it not only to eat, of it only not to eat, there we go, excuse me, of that thou hast eaten, cursed is the ground of thy labors, and pain shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. Thorns and thistles it shall bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of thy face thou shalt eat thy bread, until thou return to the earth out of which thou wast taken. For earth thou art, and to the earth thou shalt return. Now stop right there. He tells Adam in particular. He says, right before, right at the start of verse 20, in the sweat of thy face thou shalt eat thy bread until thou return to the earth. Let me go ahead and tell you something. Let me go ahead and break something down to you. The only way this nigga was eating bread is if he was cooking it. Can you dig that? The only way. That's the only way Adam was eating bread. Leavened or unleavened, which is the yeast. Bread that has yeast in it is leavened bread. Non-yeasted bread is unleavened. That's how it works. I wanted to read, though, to you how these people have, I mean, they have the exact directions, the perfect directions. You can't mess up the directions if you tried. What up, y'all? Hi, Tammy and Barry Miller. How you doing? However, though, get back to my readings here. I want to talk about the dietary law just real fast. I'm going to read real quick. I'm going to read to when the Most High tells him, right? Bam. Verse 15, chapter 2. And the Lord God took the man whom he had formed and placed him in the garden of delight to cultivate and keep it. And the Lord gave a charge to Adam, saying, of every tree which is in the garden, thou mayest freely eat. But of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, of it ye shall not eat. But in whatsoever day ye shall eat of it, ye shall surely die. And it says, die by death. I have yet to figure that out. And the Lord God, stop right there. So he doesn't tell Adam you can eat meat and animals and all this other stuff. In fact, Adam was made by himself or with another chick. So there were no animals at the time. So the desire to want to eat animals would have never been cultivated in a man who was only around vegetation. Right. These are little things to think about, but they have a huge implication as far as to what they mean. Let's go to Genesis 1:26 real quick. No, 1:29. And God said, behold, I have given to you every seed-bearing herb sowing seed which is upon all the earth, and every tree which has in itself the fruit of seed that is sown. To you it shall be for food. Stop. That's just to the human beings. Let's read what it says about all the animals. And to all the wild beasts of the earth, and to all the flying creatures of heaven, and to every reptile creeping upon the earth, which has in itself the breath of life, even every green plant for food. And it was so. Even every green plant for food, and it was so. So everything that was vegetation was for food, could be eaten. You understand? Now, the reason why I wanted to give you guys a bread recipe is because you could minus the yeast and still bake your bread, and you could do it in flatter pans or just do it on a whole other type of mechanism, and it's still bread, yo. Right on, still bread. So even if you're like, I don't want to eat it because that's leaving bread, don't put the yeast in it, dog. Don't put the yeast in it. You feel what I'm saying? One moment. With Adam, he's a vegan and a vegetarian. At what point or junction do people have this understanding that Adam was eating meat? I don't understand that, and I've always tried to to temper it with what they've been taught in church. You know, a lot of people believe that Noah ate meat. Noah, in my understanding, didn't eat meat until after the flood was over. You know, um, people can say that that's not true, but there's no implication. The only understanding that I have that Noah didn't eat meat was the fact that the Most High called him perfect in his generation, meaning that he didn't partake in what everyone else was partaking in. Not saying that people didn't eat meat. I'm just saying that Noah didn't eat meat. There's people who don't eat meat now on earth. So why would thousands of years ago this be a far-fetched idea? Um, before I leave off tonight, I'm going to give you guys a recipe for sweetbread, something, you know, good for the palate and pleasing. And I'm sure you guys know some of the stuff already, but it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. And I've been wanting to talk about food for such a long time and just talk about how good food tastes and how much I like to cook stuff and different stuff I love to cook. I wanted to do this one like way more basic and way more laid back, but I still wanted to deliver a scriptural basis to where it is that I'm attempting to reach from or reach to, get at, because the more I go on with this and the further we get into this side of things, because I've talked about genetics a lot, and for a long time before I did talk about, you know, what people ate, but not too heavy. You know, I'm going to really focus on the dietary aspect of things and show people how this has affected their lives. I mean, it's so simple. If I can't advise to you something that's bad for you to eat, that you shouldn't eat it, and you tell me I can eat it because I'm grown, that alone tells you the kind of situation that most people are in when they're dealing with folks who claim that they want to be closer to the Most High, but yet they're not willing to make any of the necessary steps to do that. You can't be like that. You can't ask people for their best and then give them your worst. It's not kosher. But let me get to something else real quick. Genesis chapter 8, and we're going to start at I lied. Genesis chapter 9, verse 1. And God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, increase and multiply and fill the earth and have dominion over it. And the dread and fear of you shall be upon all the wild beasts of the earth, on all the birds of the sky, and on all things moving upon the earth, and upon all the fishes of the sea. I have placed them under your power, or under your hand. And every reptile which is and every reptile which is living shall be to you for me. I have given all these things to you as the green herbs or herbs of grass. Stop right there. Once again, another indication. Herbs of the field and herbs of the grass are not the same. I can't stress it enough. Herbs of the grass are some of them are hardy. Most of them are leafy. Most of them are leafy. They may be robust in flavor and their overall use and desired purpose may be broad, but in itself, they're leaves. They're, the oregano, the basil, all that stuff. So people sometimes don't realize it, but I mean, there are many different pieces of vegetation, types of vegetation that grow much differently from one another. One piece of vegetation needs extremely hot weather. Another one needs cooler climates. It all just depends on what it is that you're trying to do. Um, I can't stress it enough right here. It the Most High tells Noah or Noah, right? I have, excuse me, and every reptile which is living shall be to you for me. This is verse 3 of chapter 9 of the Genesis. I have given all things to you as the green herbs or herbs of grass. Now listen to where the discernment comes in. But flesh with the blood of life ye shall not eat. For your blood of your lives will I require at the hand of all wild beasts, and I will require the life of a man at the hand of his brother man. He that sheds man's blood, instead of that blood, his own shall be shed. For in the image of God I made man. But do ye increase and multiply and fill the earth and have dominion over it. Stop. Now, I know people are like, why does that have anything to do with anything? These are changes and junctions within the uh, the dietary scheme. This means that the environment changed so much after the flood that it was probably unbelievable that people could naturally maintain being vegans and vegetarians again. Mind the fact, once again, the first man with the soul was told that he would eat his bread all of his days in sorrow, as if his cultivation would only bring forth wheat. Or maybe, as crazy as it's going to sound, he was grinding up thorns and thistles and he was eating those, making bread out of them and eating them. I can only think like that. I can only say that because that's the only thing I can come with in my mind. The Most High said that the ground is cursed because of this man. Then and she won't bring forth her fruit. She won't yield anything to you. The only thing I can say presumptuously is that that man is cursed, or whatever he does is cursed. It's not going to work for him. Um, one moment. I just think that it's just kind of sad. We don't get enough time to really break into this stuff. Like I told you, I'm not so worried about one moment. I'm not so worried about a what I'm looking for, man. I'm not worried about trying to tell you stuff that I don't think is gonna help you. You know, like I really do believe that by me telling you about what's good to eat, what's bad to eat, going back and forth between the happenings within the scripture, I believe that that's highly important. Um, just trying to tie it together is very complicated, and sometimes it takes these slow moving pieces like this one uh, to put it together for everyone, and sometimes it still doesn't happen the way that I want it to, right? But but it doesn't mean that I wanted somebody to get lost. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that I want you to not understand what I'm saying because um, I most definitely want you to understand. But at the same time, I want it to be to where you've gained an understanding, not uh you you have an understanding. You understand what I'm talking about? Um, it just has to be known. Now, I'm not going to read Oh, damn. Am I going to do that? Damn it. As opposed to what I'm not going to do. Oh, my goodness. All right. Here we go for you. Here we go. Here we go for you. What do you think happened or changed so much to where in which the Most High would say that in verse 41 of chapter 11 of Leviticus, and every reptile that creeps on the earth, this shall be an abomination to you. It shall not be eaten. And every animal that creeps on its belly, and every one that goes on its 4 feet continually, which abounds with feet among all the reptiles creeping upon the earth, ye shall not eat it, for it is an abomination to you. So, a quick correction of the things that I was still thinking in my head. Obviously, don't eat the lizard. They're not good to eat. Does not talk about the snake, though, which is funny. This is funny. This is funny. This is funny. Now, obviously, it says, in every animal that creeps on its belly and everyone that goes on its 4 feet continually, which abound with feet among all the reptiles creeping upon the earth, ye shall not eat it, for it is an abomination to you. So that's slugs, worms. Now that includes snakes when you put it into your mind. Water snake, no. Water reptiles, no. How I know this? Because even though it says, the fit, it discerns fishes. It says fish. It doesn't say everything in the water or everything else or whatever. It says fish for that reason. So obviously, by this time, what I'm starting to see once again in the dietary law, the environment had changed so much that not only did the reptiles change from being what I truly believe are furless animals into things that now have fur on them. And the seed of the serpent is a reptile, was no longer in danger. Again, Operation Long Shot, I could go back into that, and I will in a little bit, because the discovery that Abraham is a triplet is huge. However, let's keep it on the dietary. It says right here, verse 43, and ye shall not defile your souls with any of the reptiles that creep upon the earth, and ye shall not be polluted with them, and ye shall not be unclean by them. Stop. What's so amazing about this? Once again, sometimes I'll run through stuff and I'll look at it and I'll read it and I'll hold it into my head. But this is why, if I go and find it, how to think of it. The laws for eating something unclean, not just touching it, but to actually eat it. Because here, I don't think it covers it in the verses where it talks about if you drop the body of a dead unclean animal into a drinking vessel, how you have to get rid of it. If it's dropped into another type of vessel that's not drank from or ate from, you just have to wash it and then it's good. And then you have to wait till night, obviously. No, I mean people can say whatever, but obviously this covers diseases that that these animals have. Uh, what I think is amazing, not what I think, what I know is amazing, is how the Most High knows that a ferret and a or what it calls the where's he at, man? The weasel, which it considers the cat, or it is, I guess they're synonymous. However, what's important is this: it's known. What up, bro? What up? It's known as a reptile. The weasel is known as a reptile. Doesn't seem like a big deal. Huge deal. The ferret being a reptile, huge deal. The reason why that's such a huge deal is because we've traditionally called them rodents. Now, nobody goes around eating rodents unless they're a damn fur trapper in the bayous, but um, it doesn't mean that it's unheard of and that it's never happened. So, with that right there being said, quick couple corrections. Don't eat lizards. No land lizards. Let me go ahead and be specific. No land snakes. My mind tells me that this is because apparently Operation Longshot, get Noah and his sons to eat all the reptiles, didn't work. The other long shot within that operation was another set of triplets. I can use one of these men to carry on my mission. And eventually, from his bloodline, there's going to be somebody that I can give rules to as to how to govern themselves within the environment. How does that sound? One moment. Where do I want to get at? You know, just to be totally unrelated for a second, I I want to read something to you, and I'm pretty sure it's about King Josias. Amazing. Now, I try to break this stuff down to people all the time. The regular Israelite people did not read for themselves. Literacy does not equal physical hand skills. Hand skills do not equal or equivalent literacy. With that said, we're going to start at verse 5. No, excuse me, verse 8 of chapter 22 of the Kings. Fourth Kings. So this would be Second Kings in the King James Version. And Chelcias, the high priest, said to Shaphan the scribe, I have found the book of the law in the house of the Lord. And Chelcias gave the book to Shaphan, and he read it. And he went into the house of the Lord to the king. And he went into the house of the Lord to the king and reported the matter to the king and said, Thy servants have collected the money that was found in the house of the Lord and have given it unto the hand of the workmen that are appointed in the house of the Lord. And Shaphan the scribe said to the king, saying, Chelcias the priest has given me a book. And Shaphan read it before the king. And it came to pass when the king heard the words of the law that he rent his garments. And the king commanded Chelcias the priest and Achikam, the son of Shaphan, and Akabor, the son of Machias, and Shaphan the scribe, and Asaias, the king's servant, saying, Go inquire of the Lord for me, and for the people, and for all Judah, and concerning the words of the book that has been found. For the wrath of the Lord has been kindled against us. For the wrath, for the Lord, excuse me, for the wrath of the Lord that has been kindled against us is great, because our fathers hearkened not to the words of this book, to do according to all the things written concerning us. What up? What up, bro? Now, I want to stop real quick, and I just want to just cover what's going on. So you have a high priest who goes to the scribe, who's the king's right hand man, obviously. It says, "Hey, bro, I was in the temple. I collected the money. I gave the money to the dude so that way they could to all the workmen so that way they could repair the house of the Lord." When it was told to the scribe by the priest that I found the book of the law. Now understand, this is what I need y'all to get. Any person who will tell you that the word of the law was just commonplace, it was everywhere, and it was all known about, that's clearly not true. That is the furthest thing from true, because it just told you right here, I have found the book of the law in the house of the Lord. So that means that everybody didn't have a copy of the law. Can you dig it? There's a reason why there's commandments about the commandments need to be written on your hearts, because you need to pretty much memorize them. And if you desire, once again, the heart is deceitful above all things. But if you make your heart's desire the commandments of the Most High, you can't deceive yourself. It's really hard to do that. However, we're going to go back to reading, and I'm going to pick up at verse 13, and we're going to go from there. Go and inquire of the Lord for me, and for all the people, and for all Judah, and concerning the words of this book that has been found. For the wrath of the Lord that has been kindled against us is great, because our fathers hearkened not to the words of this book, to do according to all the things written concerning us. So Chelcias the priest went, and Achiam, and Achabor, and Shaphan, and Asias, to Ulda, the prophetess. To who? To Ulda, the prophetess, the mother of Selim, the son of Tecuon, son of Aras, keeper of the roads. And she dwelt in Jerusalem, in Messina, and that's also, or the college, or the second part of Jerusalem. And they spoke to her. And she said to them, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel. Hold on, these aren't coming from the words of a man. These are the words, fresh off a woman's lips. And this is what she said to tell that. This is what she said to tell the king. Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, say to the man that sent you to me, Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I bring evil upon this place and upon them that dwell in it, even all the words of the book even all the words of the book which the king of Judah has read, because they have forsaken me and have burnt incense to other gods, that they might provoke me with the works of their hands. Therefore my wrath shall burn forth against this place and shall not be quenched. And to the king of Judah that sent you to inquire of the Lord, thus shall ye say to him, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, as for the words which thou hast heard, because thy heart was softened, and thou wast humbled before me, when thou heardest all that I spoke against this place, and against the inhabitants of it, that it should be utterly destroyed and accursed, or for an abolition and a curse, and thou didst rend thy garments and weep before me, I also have heard, saith the Lord. It shall not be so, therefore. It shall not be so, therefore. And it's just following on. He's just saying that what's not going to happen to him. Behold, I will add thee to thy fathers, and thou shalt be gathered to thy tomb in peace. and thine eyes shall not see any among all the evils which I bring upon this place. Stop right there. So here's what happened. They go to the prophetess. They ask her, well, after the king sends men worthy of the task to her, you see what I'm saying? Olda, Olda, and Olda tells them, she says, hey, look, this is what's going to happen to you. Tell him that no matter what, the Most High is angry. And because he's so angry, he's not going to not do what he's doing. He's going to do exactly what he's doing. Do you understand that? And there's no stopping it. She says, but also tell him this, because when he heard all the words of the book of the law, and he cried and he rent his garments, the Most High is going to add him to his fathers, his righteous fathers, right? And your eyes will not see the evils that are going to come upon this place. Now that sounds like a small thing to do, but that's big. That's big. You get added to the righteous kings, and I can't name them all, but I think of David, obviously the top of the list. Think of guys like Hezekiah, Asa. Think of guys like obviously Josiah. Who else is a really good king? There's a couple of them I just can't bear to mind right now. But let's just keep it going for a second. Verse 1 of chapter 13. So they reported the word to the king, and the king sent and gathered all the elders of Judah and Jerusalem to himself, or to his house. And the king went up to the house of the Lord, and every man of Judah and all who dwelt in Jerusalem with him, and the priest and the prophets and all the people, small and great. And he read in their ears all the words of the book of the covenant that was found in the house of the Lord. Just a quick level of discernment. Notice that twice now it said that the king has read this. So this means that the king, unlike all the other regular people, was taught to read. Once again, literacy was something for the priest and for royal lineage. Unless you have an occupation that you can think of where you have to be able to read, the scribes, the priest, and royal lineage are the only people, that's it, who actually attain the ability to read. And keep it pushing. And the king stood by a pillar and made a covenant before the Lord to walk after the Lord, to keep his commandments and his testimonies and his ordinances with all the heart and with all the soul, to confirm the words of this covenant, even things written in this book. And when it says that, there's a little sign there. And as it says in this book, so I'm just gonna assume that that is saying that outside of the commandments, just the other basic things that go with life. One moment. And all the people stood to the covenant, or in the covenant. And the king commanded Chelcias, the high priest, and the priest of the second order, and them that keep the door, to bring out of the temple of the Lord all the vessels that were made for Baal, or Baal, and for the grove, and all the host of heaven. And he burned them without Jerusalem in the fields of Kedron. Or what is that word? It doesn't say. It's not really clear. It just says from and some other stuff. One moment. And took the ashes of them to Bethel. And he burned the idolatrous priest whom among the kings of Judah had appointed. And the word appointed has a symbol by it. And by that word appointed or given, one moment, and they burnt incense on the high places and in the cities of Judah and the places round about Jerusalem, and them that burnt incense to Baal, and to the sun, and to the moon, and to Mazzaroth. Mazzaroth has a symbol by it. Um, let's see if I can't locate it real quick. Or the 12 signs. I have no idea what the 12 signs are. I will look that stuff up and I will get back to you. And to all the host of heaven. Stop right there. So this is one of the things I'm talking about right now. I know it doesn't seem like food is a big deal, but outside of burning incense and stuff like that, they sacrifice to these gods. Now people are like, "Oh man, that means that they were killing goats and all that." No, it means that, let's say this fallen one only is appeased by people who sacrifice alligators to it, and that's what it wants. It wants an alligator sacrifice. So that means that people have to put themselves in danger to, number one, catch an alligator, and then number two, though the Most High says that it's unclean to eat, they're probably going to take part in eating it now. So this is why going after and following after other deities and not listening to the Most High can also be a detriment to just keeping the rules on a dietary level. You understand? I know it seems stupid, but understand, they just told us that people sacrifice to the moon and to the sun. So sun and moon worship, things that I say all the time, are normal and are natural. We're going to figure out what these 12 cents are. Or excuse me, not the 12 cents, but these 12 signs. We're going to figure out what those are also. Because that was huge. I never came across it like that. And sometimes when you're reading it out loud, it just comes differently, so you perceive it differently. Here we go. Okay, here we go. And when it says, and he, they're talking about Josiah, carried out of the grove from the house of the Lord to the book of Kedron, and burned it at the book of Kedron, and reduced it to powder, and cast his powder on the sepulchres of the sons of the people. And he pulled down the house of the Sodomites. By the word Sodomites, the Greek is from the Hebrew word, so there's no true definition there. And he pulled down the house of the Sodomites, so you can assume that they're homosexuals that were, excuse me. And he pulled down the house of the Sodomites that were by the house of the Lord, where the women wove tents for the grove. And he brought up all the priests from the cities of Judah and defiled the high places where the priests burnt incense, from Gibeah even to Bersabeh. And he pulled down the house of the gates that was by the door, and the gate of Joshua, the ruler of the city, on a man's left hand at the gate of the city. Only the priests of the high places went not up to the altar of the Lord in Jerusalem, for they only ate leavened bread in the midst of their brethren. And he defiled Tophet, which is in the valley of Enon, constructed for a man to cause his son or daughter to pass through the fire to Moloch. And when it says pass through the fire, there's another in the fire, is what it says. And he burned the horses which the kings of Judah had given to the sun in the entrance of the house of the Lord by the treasury of Nathan, the king's eunuch, in the suburbs. And he burned the chariot of the sun with fire. And the altars that were on the roof of the upper chamber, of Achaz, which the kings of Judah had made, and the altars which Manasseh had made in the two courts of the house of the Lord, did the king pull down and forcibly remove from thence, and cast their dust into the book of Kedron. And the king defiled the house that was before Jerusalem on the right hand on the mount of Most High, which Solomon, king of Israel, built to Astarte, the abomination of the Sidonians. Did you hear that shit? Did you hear that shit? Let me repeat that to you. And the king defiled the house that was before Jerusalem on the right hand on the mount of Most High, which Solomon, king of Israel, built to Astarte, the abomination of the Sidonians, and to Chamos, the abominations of Moab, and to Moloch, the abomination of the children of Ammon. And he broke in pieces the pillars and utterly destroyed the groves and filled their places with bones of men. So when it says that he defiled them, it's saying that he tore that shit up. Feel me? He ripped it all up. He tore it all up. And defiled being in this sense a good thing because they were probably considered holy. So he defiled them. It's the only way that it could be explained. Now, did you hear this dirty bastard Solomon built shit for not one, not two, but three different fallen ones for three different nations? Anyway, king of Israel, not king of Judah, though. Also, the high altar in Bethel, which Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin, had made, even that altar he tore down and broke into pieces the stone of it, and reduced it to powder, and burnt the grove. And Josiah turned aside and saw the tombs that were there in the city, and sent and took the bones out of the tomb and burnt them on the altar and defiled it, according to the word of the Lord, which the man of God spoke when Jeroboam stood by the altar at the feast. And he turned and raised his eyes to the tomb of the man of God that spoke these words. And he said, "What is that mound which I see?" And the men of the city said to him, "It is the grave of the man of God that came out of Judah and uttered these imprecations, which he imprecated upon the altar of Bethel." And he said, "Let him alone. Let no one disturb his bones." So those bones were spared together with the bones of the prophet that came out of Samaria. Now, why this is so important is because it's explaining that when it's saying that they defiled all these places, so they took dead bodies, threw them on their altars, and burned them. That defiled those altars, just like that. The reason why he's like, you're not going to burn his stuff with his is because he's the dude who said that this was going to happen. Right on? So this is the dude who pretty much spoke these words. You get what I mean? And the prophets, obviously, it wouldn't even make sense to do that to them. And not just because, oh, they're prophets. There's a difference between a false prophet and a prophet, Joe. A false prophet is obviously somebody going based on their own 2 cents. A real prophet is somebody who, despite how hard and how much they don't want to believe it, what they heard is true. What they just experienced is real. And they have to revel this to the people in some way, shape, or form. However, let's keep going. Verse 19 out of chapter 13. Moreover, Josias removed all the houses of the high places that were in the cities of Samaria, which the kings of Israel made to provoke the Lord, and did to them all that he did in Bethel. And he sacrificed all the priests of the high places that were on the altars, and burnt bones of the men upon them. And he sacrificed all the priests of the high places that were on the altars. Wow. That's fucking deep. And burnt the bones of men upon them, and returned to Jerusalem. And the king commanded all the people, saying, "Keep the Passover to the Lord your God, as it is written in the book of this covenant. For Passover such as this had not been kept from the days of the judges who judged Israel, even all the days of the kings of Israel and the kings of Judah. But in the 18th year of King Josias was the Passover kept to the Lord in Jerusalem." That's what I'm talking about. And the Passover is a feast of unleavened bread, bitter herbs, and some type of red meat. Can you dig it? Can you dig it? You unleavened bread only. Unleavened bread only. No yeasted bread. Most High said to the people while they were in Egypt, whilst they were there, anyone who eats leavened bread, that soul shall be cut off from the people. So, with me saying that, the Most High wanted for his way of life to be practiced so fluidly and so effortlessly that we would have eventually reached a level of perfection. It never happened. As you just heard, the Passover hadn't been kept since the day of the judges. Right. Right. That's huge. People can't understand why this is so big. Their minds can't wrap around the heaviness and the weight of the situation. Let me read another little recipe to you real quick before I carry on. Let's go to vegetables. Here we go. Preserving. Because market supervalue shelves are loaded with an abundance of excellent preserves and pickles, we've only chosen the unusual and emphasized the quick to fix. If you're interested in information on traditional canning, it said go to somebody and send it whatever. Types of preserves. Jellies are the juices of fruits or berries boiled with sugar. Note that all of our recipes call for commercial pectin. Jams are made of whole crushed berries or fruit, cooked with sugar to a soft consistency. They contain almost no free liquid. Preserves are whole or sliced fruits preserved in heavy sugar syrup. So, let me go ahead and read something to you. Port wine jelly. A sparkling jewel-like jelly that's a gem of meat, accompanying of meat, accompanying, accompanying, oh my goodness, accompaniment. There we go. Meaning that it can accompany meat. Remember to put up extra glasses of this jelly to give as gifts to friends or neighbors. That's just part of it. 3 cups of sugar, 2 cups of port. Port is a Porto, it's a wine. Half bottles of liquid pectin. Prepare jelly glasses as directed above and top of double boiler. Stir together sugar and wine, stirring constantly. Heat over rapidly boiling water 3 minutes or until sugar is dissolved. Remove from heat, immediately stir in pectin. Fill glasses and seal and store as directed above. So, just gave y'all a quick one to how to make some wine jelly. Now I'm back. And I know you guys are like, why is he doing all this? Why is he talking about food? Why? Outside of me and Andre having this conversation, when I say it's been on my mind to really speak about food and the dietary aspect for such a long time, because right now I'm talking about the law and I'm talking about what the Israelites haven't done since the days of the judges, which is keep Passover. So if they haven't kept Passover for that long, the reality of them keeping the laws of the diet are so far-fetched that it's really unthinkable that they did that. I guess what that does for me is it tells me 2 things. The first is that as I give you these ingredients, I really do hope you go back and find the little spots. Don't worry, this won't be no 2 hour barn burner or nothing like that. So people should be able to go back and find the spots pretty easily. But the reason why I'm talking about the food part and the diet stuff so much is because the laws, the only thing more important than the dietary law itself is the laws of mating. That's it. Your genes, your genetics determine the food you can put into your body safely and readily easily. That's right. If your daddy's allergic to something and your mama's allergic to the same thing, your chances of you being allergic to that same very substance are very high. So, with that said, it's more believable, more thinkable. And thing number two with that is that food is a part of spectra. Spectra is a part of our existence. And food is the first thing that changed spectra. Let me go ahead and give emphasis to this. If we go back to Genesis chapter 3 real fast, just real fast, and I just read to you real quick. Verse 8. And the eyes of both were open, and they perceived that they were naked, and sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons to go around them. Stop. Now let's read verse 7, so that way you get what I'm talking about. And the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes to look upon, and beautiful to contemplate. And having taken of the fruit of its fruit, she ate, and she gave to her husband also with her, and they ate. And let's emphasize it again. And the eyes of both were open, and they perceived that they were naked. Stop right there. That means that the vision of whatever they were seeing were changed based simply on what they ate. That means that how you think and perceive things could change based simply upon what you eat. Not backtracking on nothing. I'm just this is a quick correction on 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 the things that I've gone over. Um, it's rough. This is rough. This is this is rough because this is one of those things where either people do or don't get it, and and then when they do or don't get it, it's whether or not they're going to accept what they're actually up against. I was telling the young lady today because she put some, she put the kind of perfume that you dab on your hands and you move it around, like that really strong stuff that chicks buy, that expensive stuff. And I just had to tell her that, that perfumes come from the fallen angels. They're the ones who taught women how to do that stuff. And and it's just epic, that I was telling her, I was like, you could never know what kind of spirits you summoned or what kind of spirits you impose on another person with those scents, because you don't know what the act you can't say what spirit those chemicals hold. There's just no way of knowing that. This is why the coloring of the eyes and of the face and all that stuff. Colors represent cosmic powers. So when you put one on your skin, you're representing that cosmic power. If it's used in the proper way or improper way, it has an influence on others, and therefore you can manipulate them. And like you're saying, sister, food is connected to spectra, very, very closely connected to spectra. Um, I don't know if it's just that you guys are a special group of people and you deal with me, or if it's just this whole message for me. I mean, like, you guys got to realize that there's a lot of stuff I talk about, but it's easy to really point out genetics and be like, oh, you shouldn't blood mix. Ha ha ha. It's a lot harder to tell people about food because it's hard to tell somebody what their budget is. You see what I'm saying? I don't know what somebody has to spend every monthly on their food. I don't know what kind of grocery stores or what kind of mom and pop stores or whatever that they may be dealing. I don't know the actual living situation of a person. So for me to tell them something along the lines of what they should eat is a little out of the way, but I can tell them what they should not eat, you know. Um, Everybody can't afford organic food. So to tell you to eat gluten-free flour, which I would think is, I'm telling you, if the flour has no gluten, dog, that's not flour. That's something else. It's gluten is not what's making people sick. Gluten is not what the people are allergic to. Can you dig that? It can't be. It's impossible. And people be like, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, no, listen to what I'm saying. I already read to y'all earlier in the cookbook, gluten naturally occurs. You find gluten in oatmeal, dog. Listen, you're going to tell me that thousands of years ago, these dudes were producing plants that didn't have gluten, that didn't have stuff that stuck it together. That's without gluten, you couldn't bake bread, dog. The bread, your shit wouldn't even hold together. So the fact that you have people who think that not eating something that naturally occurs is bad for them, right? And there's a lot of people like this. I meet more white people like this than anything. You know what I mean? Uh, they get black people to think in this fucked up way. What's up, Martin? But black people have to get their own mindset as far as what's good to eat. You can't let people tell you what's good to eat as far as like if you know better already. Something changed altogether in the environment. My only question is like, where would they go and grow wheat that didn't have gluten in it? Where would they go to grow any kind of grain that doesn't have gluten in it? Even then, sister, when you talk about them adding it to a crop, right? Just 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 follow me for half a second. There's places that can't afford that stuff. Right on? There's places that don't use that stuff for whatever reasons. They're still producing wheat that has gluten in it. Gluten is a naturally occurring thing. It would be like when people say that they're allergic to gluten, the only thing I could compare that to is like a person trying to say that they're allergic. No, it's not the gluten. It's not the gluten. It's something else. It's they're doing something to it. Between them cutting the wheats or the grains down, between there is a certain part in one of those processes, they're adding a chemical to the stuff. I know it. I know it. I know it. I can't prove that, but I know that for a fact because there's no way that they're going to tell me that all these people are they have gluten allergies, while they're eating fucking cookies. No, hell no. Nigga eating peanut butter cookies talking about he's got a gluten allergy. Man, you better go sit that shit down somewhere. you know, and tell that to somebody else. You know, they are stupid. They are stupid. And I'm not calling the people who really believe that they have the shit stupid. I'm saying that they are stupid for believing that they have a gluten allergy while eating something that has gluten in it. Oh no, I feel you, sister. I feel you. I follow what you're saying. But if it's the glyphosate that they're allergic to, right? Then it's the glyphosate. It's not the gluten. And they don't, you know, and one is a chemical, you feel me? And the other one is a naturally occurring molecule, we'll say, within the mechanism, within the organism, excuse my language. Um, it's beautiful though, because this is the see, once again, now this is what I wanted to get the conversation to do right here, which is talk about something that actually does matter. And I'm not, once again, and for people who have the allergens to wheat, whether it's manufactured or not, my apologies to them, you know, because I mean no offense. But I'm going to grab something to show it to you. So this is called Red Mill. It's 100% stone ground whole wheat, as you can see, packed full of vitamins. 1 second, and it's cheap. I got it from this website called Vitacost.com, spelled like this. 1 second, I'm gonna put it in the. Bam, that place. Something just like that. If that's not the exact dead-on one, that's where you want to go. They have. When I say this dude has, he has stuff. He has flours that is just for like baking breads with, just for making cakes with, all kinds of stuff. Um, yeah, and I would most definitely advise people to do stuff like that. You know, because I'm looking at. I mean, you're obviously not going to find a. It's a non-GMO. Let's just read the nutrients inside of it real quick. It's 140 calories per serving. The total fat value is 1% per serving. Cholesterol 0%, sodium 0%. Sister, you know what's crazy about what you're saying? There's a I can't think of the name of it now, but there's another reason why some people also, and I'm not saying that this is you, but I can think of one instance of it, and this also applies to people. Milk is cooked into most breads. I'm not saying that you're any sort of way lactose or anything like that. A lot of people are also like lactose or allergic to milk, and sometimes they'll eat bread. Most bread contains milk, especially when it's soft, like I read to you earlier. Bread made with water will have a hard crust. Bread made with milk will have a softer crust, will be softer. So something to think about. Total carbs, 10%. Total fiber, one serving is 25%. 7 grams of protein. No vitamin D, no calcium, 10% of iron, and 4% of potassium per serving. Now, I want to thank God first off for you having the sense to stop eating for you to know what was actually messing with you. And I'm glad that you stopped eating it. And for whatever reason, you started eating wheat again. I'm glad it doesn't hurt your body. I really am, because sometimes, you know, after our bodies start rejecting stuff, that's it. You know, our body will not accept it anymore. So that's always an interesting dynamic. Um, man, this is crazy. When I was a kid, my auntie, she used to make upside down cakes all the time, right? I say all the time, like all the time. You know, diabetes runs strong in my family, super duper tough. But I remember one day, my auntie, and this is when I learned that a person sometimes need to eat, sometimes you have to eat sugar and stuff like that to keep, you know, to keep upright. Because I remember my auntie she kept eating cake, man. So finally I started asking, like, I was like, why are you eating so much cake, auntie? She said, my blood sugar is low. And she said, I don't want to fall out and fall into a coma. And I said, you can fall into a coma? And then she was the first person that I can think of that actually told me that they had diabetes and explained to me to the best of her ability what diabetes was. Um, I've had a bunch of sugar-free candy and stuff like that in my life because of that. You know, so I have a different, you know, and it's not just because of that, but you know, I just have a different, you know, perspective on what we should and should not put into our bodies. You know, um, I normally listen to older people. When somebody older than me says that this messed their body up and this is why, like when you say that wheat messed your body up and it was the glyphosate, like, you know, like I totally 100,000% believe you. And it's one of those things that makes me to where I'm not gonna say, oh, like, oh, I'm super duper happy that I don't go to the store and like buy bread all the time. But most of the bread I eat is like cornbread. You know what I mean? Like that's probably like I probably eat more cornbread. That's awkward that you say that. See, and y'all just learn from the lesson that Sister Bowser's giving us right now. You know what I mean? If y'all start eating stuff and it hurts you to eat it, or you know, like you notice, like, damn, every time I eat fucking Panera bread, I eat their flatbread, my stomach is just on fire, then you need to know to not eat that bread. And you need to ask them what they're putting in the bread or what the bread is made with. So that way, you know, you could possibly see if you're having an allergic reaction or if your body, the way your body is made, the chemical composition of your body is just naturally reactive towards whatever this chemical is, whatever this ingredient is. Once again, learn from what she's saying because that's really a powerful thing. You know, they're not the same. But one time I had an ulcer and I was at boot camp, and I'm telling you guys, I never felt so bad. Bro, bro, I followed you. I followed you. But bro, man, hey man, dude, learn that stuff now while you're young. Don't abuse your body, dog. You feel me? Just because you like it and it tastes good to you, if your body doesn't like that shit, man, don't eat it. You know, don't eat it. Don't eat it. No matter how much you like it, and it might take you a couple times of holding your stomach and praying to God, talking about God, if you get me through it this time, I'll never do it again. It might take you a couple of those. But I pray it does, and I pray that you know if stuff is bothering you now, bro, anything, no matter what it is, I would do what Sister Bowser did, man, and take a hiatus from it for a period of time, and then possibly try to come back to it with a small dose to my body and see how my body handled it. You know, um, I had an ulcer at boot camp for like 2 or 3 months. I didn't eat orange juice. I mean, I didn't drink orange juice. I didn't eat oranges. I couldn't. It just, I mean, it just tore my stomach up. This stuff called naproxen. This is why I don't take medications, because hey man, if it hurts your body, dog, that's what it is, Steve. Shit, man, you can't be out here, I gotta go to work in 3 hours. I'm about to eat some Chinese food. Knowing Chinese food hurts your body, hurts your stomach. You know what I mean? Um, um, I'm just now figuring out that I really don't like certain beers, you know? Like I don't like them. They make me gassy. They make my stomach hurt sometimes. Sometimes I get heartburn from them. So I don't buy them no more. I won't buy them, and I haven't bought them in a long time, So you just have to know. You have to you have to get used to what your body sends you, because it's going to send you some signals. And then once your body sends you all the signals, you have to respect your body. You have to respect it and say, okay, all right, vessel, all right, avatar that I live in, that my soul is housed in. Let me respect you and let me give to you what it is that is proper and righteous. So this is why the Most High God says what he says about defiling your soul as opposed to defiling, your flesh, because a man because you can defile your soul and your flesh at the same time, but there's certain things that almost, because they're unclean to you, they're unclean to the spirit. So that's a defiling of the soul. It's hard to explain these things, but they make sense. And I know you guys, and I know you guys understand. So I'm not going to keep harping on that. But what I'm going to move to before I get done with all this right here, because I know you guys got busy lives, and I know that you got a busy week ahead of you. I just wanted to put it out on I'm going to put my address here, right? And my email. 1 second. Washington 98403. And then now for the email. One moment. This shit. Man. So that's really what it is. I mean, no matter how good they say it is, if it comes in a plastic bag or a can, I don't care what they say it is. Even the vegetables that come like that, I always question. I like my vegetables to be outside where I put it in my own bag. I don't like vegetables that already come in bags. Pre-bagged spinach and stuff like that. I don't like that. I'd rather just, buy a bushel of spinach. But you couldn't know, sister. No shit. You're right. Talking about, yep. You said you're right. You're dead on. You are dead on. The healthiest way, in my opinion, obviously it's not smoking it. I would say, dog, to be perfectly honest, capsulated oil is the healthiest way. Capsulated oil. If you didn't want to do that, eating the bud, literally eating the bud, is probably the healthiest thing you could do. Bruce Lee, a lot of people don't know this. Bruce Lee didn't believe in smoking marijuana because, obviously it can damage your lungs, but he believed in eating it, and he did eat marijuana. The thing is, though, is that the different forms of it have different effects. So when you add fire to the leaf, you change the entire chemical composition of the marijuana. When you eat the marijuana, its original state stays the same. So I want to say the CBGs and CBBs and CBAs and CBDs and shit like that, they all get unlocked after, they're unlocked when you don't burn the marijuana up for the most part. The THC, right? THCA, THCC, there's a whole bunch of different ones. Anyway, THC, when it's activated, can cause a psychotropic effect, which is the mind high that people get. But it also still has medicinal values to it and properties. I don't want to get too carried away in this, but taking it by capsule or by oil is easily by far the eating the actual flower is the most authentic way. But if you can get the oil drops, the high-end oil drops, that's another really good one. The concentrated oil drops, that's another very good way, a very healthy way to do it. And with the stuff like that, with the oil drops and with the capsules, they help a lot more with your joint pain and with chronic pain, more so than they are to induce a high or anything like that. Or what they call intoxicating effects. Personally, I smoke it or I eat it. I do more smoking than eating, but that's just me. Come the great day of destruction, you ain't got to worry about all that. I'm gonna be too busy trying to stay alive. But until the meantime, in between time, I'm gonna do my thing and stay alive. Well, hope I stay alive. It would be very disappointing to die right now at this stage in the game. Yeah, I would be pretty disappointed. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, look, man. At the end of the day, I want you to take this stuff, and take it in stride, and then take heed to what I'm saying, dog. I'm gonna repeat something I've said before. The doctors who make the drugs are wizards, warlocks, witches, and Wiccans. Okay? Some at a very low level, some at a very high level. What they do is the ones at the highest level have practiced the craft longer or just have a better understanding for it naturally. So when they prescribe what are chemical concoctions to the people, they're able to give them all the different things that will counteract one of the drugs and then attempt to minimize the side effects. So they'd rather give you two different drugs that have the same side effect than to give you one drug that has two different side effects. Can you dig what I'm saying? Where one's going to cancel out the adverse effects of the other one, and the side effect of both of these are the same. So you couldn't tell which one of these is the one causing the actual side effect. You'd have to take one, isolate it, and then take the other one isolated. And because you need both, one to check the other and the other one to do whatever job that it's doing, whatever purpose it serves, you would never be able to find that out. And that, once again, that's a high level wizard. That's not a low level wizard. A low level wizard will give you two different medications. You have 6 or 7 different damn side effects. You might have 1 or 2 coinciding side effects, but the rest of them differ. And to get the other side effects under control, they have to prescribe you more drugs. Right. They're only wizards and witches, warlocks and Wiccans. They're nothing else. If I took a bunch of stuff, smashed it together, and told you, hey, if you eat this, it'll make you bigger, stronger, faster, right? Just because I said that doesn't mean that's what it's going to do. You follow what I'm saying? This is why things like steroids or PEDs, whatever you want to call them, this is why they're so looked at the way that they are. Because for a person to put a steroid in their body, a PED in their body, to go around and then to take another agent that masks this agent. Well, the reason why they do this is because, and they might end up on, once again, several different drugs, masking all the different drugs that they're taking. You see what I'm saying? That have different side effects. One of them might be heart palpitations. You know, another one might be anxiety. Another one might be cold sweats or hot sweats. Another one might be depression, suicidal thoughts. Now you have to understand what I'm getting at, though, is that they're taking all these different things to counteract, not to mention the spectral damage that is being done. I can't even encompass that enough. So the fact that we have professions, we have real life wizards, real life witches, real life warlocks on TV, real life Wiccans on TV, casting their spells, knowest and unbeknownst on the people, right on, giving out marching orders, and making folks believe that what they're seeing is normal. I give you a prime example. The reason why they put certain people on TV as personality hosts, let's say like Bill O'Reilly, right? Bill O'Reilly, despite what people want to say, is an enchanting wizard. He has the ability to speak, right, and manipulate the masses at his own whim, his own behest. He can get them to do what he wants them to do. Now, because he works for darker, more nefarious forces, they in part will ask Bill and say, "Hey, we want you to get the people to do this. We want you to try to get the people to think this." And when they do these things, what they're doing, once again, they have to use skills and abilities that have been manifested. You were taught that was a speech class he went to. He went to a class to learn how to properly use grammar. But no, what he learned was how to use enchantment properly, how to use words properly. This is why they call it the art of conversation, the art of whatever, because there is a science to it that must not be portrayed. It cannot be betrayed if you seek a particular or peculiar result. It must not be betrayed. It must be kept in balance. I cannot stress this enough. I go to court tomorrow, y'all. I would like for you to pray for me. I've still been going to court. I've still been holding it down. But I would like for y'all to pray for me. I would like for y'all to ask the Most High any kind of thing. And when I put my address in here, and my email in here, and so that way, if you guys get the time this week to just write me a kind letter of recommendation, you know, I would greatly appreciate. I mean, when I say I would greatly appreciate that, y'all, I would greatly appreciate it. You know, I don't have anything else right now. The people I'm gonna have talking up for me out here, you know, freaking potential witnesses, they're all gonna be homeless, you know, drug addicts for the most part. And the few who aren't full-blown addicts are still addicts, you know? So I'm not saying that they're going to be my witness tomorrow, but assuming that this goes to trial, assuming all this, that, and the other, you know, because tomorrow the lawyer guy is going to try to get me to sign the extension. He's going to say, the letter should say what you think about me, how you think I am as a person. That's it. Just the truth. Just the truth. The truth. The letter should say the truth about me. You know, I don't want nobody lying or embellishing or exaggerating or none of that. I don't want none of that. I just want just the truth. Just to say what is honest about me. Bro, you could be fucking 10 years old, Martin. Okay? Right on, dog. The fact that you have taken the time to write a kind piece or words that will be in my favor, dog. Man, addressed. You can just address it to me and to just a basic letter. Address it. I don't know who do you address it to? Not to the courts. Vaguely address it to a party of authority, somebody who has the ability to shape things in my life right now. Something like that, sister. You know, I couldn't really say who to address it to. You know, I can't say. I couldn't say. I'm tired. You know, the whole situation has made me alive again, but it has pulled a lot of valuable resources that I didn't have to lose out of my pockets. Yeah, to whom it may concern. To whom it may concern. That is more than appropriate. Thank you there, kind stranger. CRSS. Is that Chris? Or am I just tripping? But no, I have court, y'all, and it's funny because I got home kind of late tonight from this damn football game, and I was like, man, I don't know if I want to do this. Okay, right on, Chris. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do this or not, you know, because I know it's late. But I love doing this. I really do. This arguably is the biggest part of my week, for sure. Outside of me waking up every day, I look forward to doing Sundays. I got a few different pieces of work I'm working on right now. So just be patient with me. One of them is going to take a long time to put together because it's not so much, you know, like a picture movie or anything like that, as it is, but it's not one of the ones that like words max pictures. It's just the way that it's going to be presented is going to take a lot longer. And I need to make sure that I do it properly within this program because the program itself is limited. It's a free one that's on the computer, you know, so I can't ask for too much. But I don't know what to tell y'all other than thank you. You know, for real, for real. I don't know what to say other than thank you. I appreciate everything that has happened in my life, everything that hasn't happened in my life. It has been an honor to have at least met the acquaintance of everyone. I wouldn't trade my spot here on earth to sit by anybody in time. And I'm not speaking blasphemous, and I don't mean to sound crazy to y'all. I wouldn't even trade this for being around when the Messiah was born, King David, Daddy Abraham. Not even Noah, nothing. No, there's no person on earth. There's no time that I would give up and be like, forget you guys all of a sudden. I mean, I would be tempted to go all the way back to something like Noah, but I couldn't. I love this too much. I've been here for too much. I've been here too long, in this world, in this time. Um, and I don't want to, I don't want to forget this stuff. I know we die and forget everything or what, however it goes, but while I'm alive right now, and I wouldn't hand this up and hand this over. Some people, once again, they would just be out of here, even if it meant guaranteed safe passage, straight up guaranteed safe passage to salvation, to leave this dispensation behind, to leave the people behind. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I've been offered offers that are what people call selling your soul type offers. I've been offered jobs to make six figures a year several times in my life. Several times in my life. I was even offered a job, no bullshit, to come and teach at a UW out here in Seattle by one of the freaking professor guys. He was going to try to get me on. This is a couple years ago. It had nothing to do with nothing. Um, I don't know. I'm me. I'm that stubborn. To a fault. I think that's not a good thing, but I really do believe that's what it is. I'm just stubborn, and yeah, I just love being with you guys too much. I love kicking it with y'all too much. It's 10:08 my time. I'm not sure what it is your time, but you got a whopping 7 or 8 more minutes of Demetrius, and then he's out of here. I cannot stress to you guys enough how everything that you do, every little thing that you do is monumental to me. It's huge. It's huge. I pray that everything I say eventually makes sense and it starts to add on to itself. I pray that while you listen, you're not trying to listen to I don't know, to like hear for like secret I'm not gonna say anything to you in secret. If I don't mean for anyone to understand it, I'll speak it in a way where I know it's not generally understood. But why would I want to talk to anybody about things that I don't want them to understand? That goes against the logic and the principles of how I conduct myself and how I operate. But I'm just telling you that's how I would do it if I wanted to go about that. So yeah, I've never felt that way. Never. Um, I don't expect anyone here listening to feel the same way that I do. I don't expect anyone to have like that. It's almost a desire to see like the world end. A part of me wants to see all this shit come to an end. It's weird for me to say I'm not afraid of that. I'm not afraid of that. I'm less afraid of that than I am dying. I would watch the world end infinitely before I died once. You know, I want to die. I don't think anybody wants to die, but I think it's the price I'm willing to pay for what our ancestors have done. All we can try to do is break the cycle at the end of the day. All you can try to do is pray to the Most High, pray that if He listens to us and He frees us from this wicked land, that the moment that you leave from here, you start breaking the cycles of all the bad things that we've learned. I start breaking all the cycles of all the bad things that I've learned, all the bad habits that I have. You know, that's what it's going to take. It's going to take people being willing to be taught all over again. It's going to take willing souls. I've I've done all that I can. Um, People first made with no souls, check. First man and the woman made with the soul, check. The first clone made, check. Everybody were vegans, check. Pangea was there before and after the flood, check. Noah's sons are triplets, check. All the earth at one time was one race and one lip, check. When you skip further down, this guy named Abraham and his brothers are all triplets, check. Eventually, when you skip even further down the line, we're going to skip all the way to Moses. This man gets knowledge from the Most High God himself to give to us. Have I given that to people? Yes, I have. Check. It's 10 different little things, and they're all monumentally major. Not one of those things doesn't not help. They all help. Every single one of them help in the discernment of the scripture. I'm only worried about what I can help you do. I can't help you forgive yourself. You got to do that. I can't help you feel better about what you think should be different. I can't help that. All I can do for you is allow for my words to be honest and hope that you take from them what is obtainable and leave all else by the wayside. It's not going to do you any good. Nothing. If it means nothing to you, it will do you no good. If it means something to you, that means that it can possibly help you. And that's just how you have to operate. There can't be this confusion amongst the people as to, are we all working together or are we not? You see what I'm saying? We're going to end this on a recipe. When I get done with my recipe, salute time and I'm out. We're going to go to a hot bread. Go to breads again. Let's go to a sweet one. Come on. For a moment. Why can't I get to this page? Come on. Now that I want to leave and be done with it, now it's what it's trying to act up on me. There's little tabs, and it just won't get to the bread one. Oh my goodness! Come on, man. There we go. Oh my goodness, y'all! I'm about to be so pissed off. I'm about to be so pissed off. There we go. There we go. Yes. All right. We're gonna read. I want to. It's got to be a sweet one. Cinnamon rolls. Here we go. Half recipe for traditional sweet roll dough. That's on page 74. Sweet roll dough is 2 packages of active dry yeast, a half cup of warm water, which is 105 to 115 degrees, half a cup of lukewarm milk, scalded, then cooled, which is a light boil, turned off, and you let it cool. It'll have a little like layer over it, like a film over it. Half cup of sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt, 2 eggs, half cup of shortening or butter or margarine softened, 4.5 to 5 cups of gold medal flour. Now we're going to read the cinnamon rolls again. Half the recipe that I just read to you. 2 tablespoons of butter or margarine softened, 1/4 cup of sugar, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. Sweet icing is on page 76. Oh no, here we go. It's right here. You don't have to even worry about sweet icing. So icing and sweet icing are just a little bit different. 1 cup of confectioner's sugar, 1 tablespoon of milk, and 1.5 teaspoon of vanilla until smooth. So that's one type of icing. And then the other icing is 1.5 cups of confectioner's sugar, 1 tablespoon of milk, and 1 tablespoon of milk and 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla until smooth. So the difference is the sweet icing has less sugar. That's funny. Anyway, it says roll dough into a rectangle. Spread with butter, mix sugar and cinnamon. Sprinkle over rectangle. Roll up, beginning at wide side, which is the 15-inch side is 15 by 9 inches. Pinch the edge of the dough and to roll to seal well. Stretch roll to make even. Cut roll into 15 slices. Place slightly apart in greased baking pan, 13 by 9 by 2, or in a greased muffin cups. Let rise until double. Bake 25 to 30 minutes. While warm, frost rolls with icing. Bam. That sounds delicious. If y'all want to hear that recipe again, you're going to have to put this sumbitch in reverse and rewind and listen to it again. When I say I appreciate you guys, I appreciate you. I'm going to type something here for y'all. Much love. And appreciation. Oh, here we go. Appreciation. There we go. Damn. Y'all, it has been a spectacular night. Salute you. Until next time, my friends. No promises. We'll see what happens this week with the work. Pray for your boy. Y'all already know I'm praying for you. If there's anything that you guys need, you have my email. Send your boy an email. Whatever. Y'all just want to talk about something, anything. I'm pretty free all the time now, especially. I might have a job here really soon, but even then, I'm always free. I always make myself available. Man, I love you guys so much. I really do, man. Y'all have a blessed week. And may the Most High judge between us and our enemies.